What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to yet another Stock Sermon Sunday. I'm gonna just go straight past the intro per usual, happily, because we did have a little bit of a glitch in our technology. I do apologize. I'm on a mobile setup, no excuse. You're here to get the value. So let me know down below if I'm sounding good, looking good, and we're gonna get right into it. And I'm gonna speed it up a little bit because people do rewatch this, so I do apologize. But if you want to tune back in, rewatch it on your own time, you're more than welcome to. But without further ado, thank you so much for being here. Links will be down below to join Leverage University. The links are right here down below in the comments after the video. If you have not yet done so, we do have a holiday sale going on right now. Code HOLIDAY30 at Leverage University for the analyst level. If you'd like our mentorship, which we do have some people in that currently, and that will be investing coming forth for 2026. Already some seats are filling up, so I'd love to have you 6 weeks, one-on-one with myself, 90 minutes a session, and then 1 full year inside of Leverage University. If you want to take advantage of the full yearly package as well, that is an awesome opportunity too. All right. If you have any questions for us, join our newsletter and then message our team inside of our WOP platform, WHOP, our WOP platform, and we'll get back to you for any questions, any concerns, or any praise that you'd like to have for us. All right, any improvements. All right. So without further ado, we are repeating this, but we're going to speed it up a little bit. All right. Thank y'all so much for bearing with me. I appreciate you. And per usual, let's jump into the economic calendar. And I am not going to go into that CNN, but just know that we have a fear and greed index that is currently at greed. All right. So we went over the economic data report previously, but we'll go over it again here. Our economic data for this week is going to be pending home sales at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So just know that at 10 a.m., if you're trading, just know that there will be some data that comes out 10 a.m. Eastern time. Tuesday, we have some PMI, and then we have the minutes of the FOMC, and then we have our initial jobless claims to end off the full year of 2025. What a crazy year it has been. It has been extremely volatile, but ending up positive for the year, almost 20% for the year. All right, at least for the S&P 500. Then we have New Year's Day, and then we have Friday, nothing scheduled on the docket there. All right. So just want to show you that we do have some data reports that could be impacting the trading sessions this week. And I do believe it will be slightly volatile because we will be having a redistribution of profits, losses, people that want to take profits, move them into real estate, move them into other asset classes, move them into cash, right? Or leave it in the overall market and buy more. We just don't know what might happen. So just be careful this week. If you want to start fresh and just watch this week, you're more than welcome. But I am going to talk about from our long-term investors as well of what type of year 2026 might be based off of a midterm year. So I did show previously on the last video this, but if you did not watch my last video, go check that out about what a midterm year typically is. So I'll pull up ChatGPT really quick, and I typed it in to just kind of give us a indication. Okay, give us a little indication here about what type of year this could be. Okay. Let's see if it'll let me log in here. If not, we'll keep it rolling. Technology has just not been my friend lately, so it's not been my friend. Are we glitching again? It's not been my friend. Yeah, let's just not do that. Let's just not do that, Brian. All right. Some of y'all technology nerds, which I am as well, probably have some feedback, but that is okay. Let's jump straight into the charts. All right, jump straight to the charts here and go over SPY, QQQ levels for this week, and then we'll look at the some respective stocks. All right. And I'm getting the spinning wheel of death already. It's like, Brian, you got too much stuff on your stuff. I'm like, no, not really. All right. Okay, so some levels that we already marked out here. We've got 687.46, okay? That is our previous all-time high that we broke above, that level at the top. You also have 683.73 at the bottom end of the range. So if you see this little, right, that whole channel is technically support. So if you look at this, we could pull back into that area, okay, and then recover and bounce higher to new all-time highs yet again. That is a way that we can continue the trend into potential Santa Claus rally. Okay, the Santa Claus rally yet again is the last 5 days of December, the first 2 days of the year of January. So this week technically will give us that indication if we get spurs of new all-time highs. Okay, so that is the bullish trend that we can see. All right, let me see if everything is rolling. It's still glitching here. If this guys doesn't work out, I might have to just record a video for you. I might have to just record a video. Yeah, this is not operating correctly here. Not operating correctly. My goodness. Wow. Okay. Let's see if that helps it. Just seems like it's glitchy. Seems like it's glitchy. Y'all come on these lives to be smooth in the world. This person does not have it together. All right, that seems like it's moving a little bit better. All right, we're gonna keep rolling here. All right, this is gonna be on the channel, and that's the whole point of it being live. All right. We're going to have a pullback here into this range, 683 or 687. The reason being is because that is the weekly previous low. Okay, that candle right there is the weekly previous low right there on that candle that we push new all-time highs. If we can see here on a daily chart, right, we can have a pullback into this range here at 683 and push higher through there. Okay, up like this. That is a possibility for a bullish sentiment. Okay, now if we go further here into the 4-hour chart, we can see that there is a possibility for a potential fake out. What that means is that we blast through that previous weekly low underneath 683 and we set a lower high underneath this previous high there. Okay. And then we come down lower. Okay. And that is how those potential gaps will get filled like that. Okay. If you're not having, or if you have not watched my gap fill video, you see those little gray lines right there. If you're rewatching this, if you've never been here before, but those little gray areas right there are gaps that were created in the stock, which will get filled at some point. So whether we go up higher and then tries to reach 700 and then we pull back, or it does it right now, we set some high here at 670 and then roll back higher. But I don't like personally pushing new highs with these unfilled gaps like that. That is just a rule of thumb of mine. I don't like grinds up. I talked about that in the last video. We've got some interesting scenarios again where I think that we could pull back. And the reason being is because if we look at this 4-hour chart here on the RSI, it is kind of setting lower highs on the RSI as the market is going higher. Okay, that is what we call a bearish divergence. So even though the market is trending up higher, right, very similar to last year at the end of the year, which I showed previously, we could have some type of low volume grind and chop. Here's last year, right? You see there, bam, right there, bam. Then it chops up, chops up, chops up, and then it finally gives that drastic pullback that we like to see for long-term investing opportunities and long-term swing call option opportunities, right? So that is what I'm kind of looking for again for 2026, because 2026 is a midterm year. Go watch previous video that I just posted recently, yesterday, about that. But the previous 2022 midterm year, it was down 18% for the S&P 500. In 2018, it was down 4%. And previously, it was roughly shaky around that 10 to 12% up. Okay. Our dot-com bubble as well in 2000, 2001, 2002, it was also negative, down 22%. So the whole premise of that saying is that 2026, based on historical context, not promising anything, not financial advice, but could be a little bit of a shaky year going back and forth. Okay. We have run tremendously for the last 3 years, which has been awesome. For some, they're like, Brian, we've been running for the last 4 or 5 years. Yes, that is true, since 2020, 2019, really. And we had a bear market in 2022. But if I put it to the 2022 bear market, that's 2023, 2024, 2025. Okay. So a 3 year extended run from our last bear market. Okay. So that is kind of what I'm looking for and hoping for in 2026, is some type of bear market. So those are the levels on SPY. Let's jump into QQQ. QQQ is lagging behind just a little bit. So we got some clear levels here this week. We got an upper bound of roughly 628, 629. If it wants to trend a little bit higher for whatever reason, okay, that is a possibility for it to do, is trend a little bit higher like that. And then potentially roll over a little bit if SPY is in concordance with it. Okay, so if SPY is rejecting as well, that is going to be very important. Now, why is that level so big, Dr. B? Why do you think that we're going to pull back that drastically? Is because if we look at the ES futures, right? The ES futures are close to or right at 7,000. Okay, so just because SPY is not at 700, that big round even number that everyone was looking for, ES futures are close to a big psychological level, which is going to be roughly around that maybe 695 on SPY. Okay, roughly 695 on SPY. Okay, so that is a possibility for us to trend up a little bit higher, but the closer we get to this 7,000 ES futures, okay, you look at that SPY, the same thing, same chart, that gives us roughly around that 695 potential. And at that point, the RSI is extremely overextended on a 30-minute, getting there on a 4-hour, already there on an hourly. Okay, so I expect some type of pullback in concordance also with this MACD cross right here on an hourly. Okay, so that just simply means Monday, Tuesday, one of those one of those days is probably going to be red. Okay, one of those days is going to give you that pullback, right? So be careful of that. Wait for that if you're trading this week. But we need to see how the year finishes off. But I expect some volatility. I like that we got the push up, very similar to Thanksgiving, post Thanksgiving. Here's our Thanksgiving rally right here. Thanksgiving right here. And then we finally get that rollover right there again. So kind of a grind and grind and grind. Same thing that's happening right here. Pop, grind, grind, grind. Then maybe we roll over the first week in January. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. But overall, look at that. It's a break of new all-time high, right? Pull back into that zone, bounce, and we go higher, okay? QQQ gave those levels already. IWM, right? IWM is, not the prettiest here, but IWM, if it's below that 253 level, that is the previous high here, below that 252, 253 level, right? Just watch that, right? It's setting some lower highs, bam, bam, bam. And then if it sets another lower high right here in this zone and we can't go higher, it could do something like that. Okay. I like the buy area or buy zone back down here on IWM ideally, but up into these resistances right there, bam, 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 right there, gets a little bit stuck right here. Just kind of watch that. Okay. So up into this zone of 253, 252, not the best interest of going higher like that, but it could, right? So just kind of tricky up here at these new all-time highs, but we'll talk about gold in a second. But let's jump into the SMH. SMH is the semiconductor ETF. So if we're looking to see what NVIDIA is going to do, AVGO, I'm going to go over those as well, Tanvir, if you're still here. So SMH is sitting right at this heavy resistance area around 367. And it seems like every time I jump on a live, it's already popped into a resistance area. And like, dang, Brian, like, I did say, that 674, 675 level on SPY was very key, right? So that did pull back to that zone, and that's what I was waiting for. So kind of up in this area, got to respect the resistances up in this area. So 360 on the SMH would be a decent pullback area. So if we get some type of pullback into that zone right there, and then we set a higher low or we bounce off of it pretty aggressively, then we can see that continue to the highs and back to 370 plus, as Nvidia has got some new news with some acquisitions, Grok, so on and so forth. So I am looking for the semiconductor sector to rotate, but we've got to respect that it's back in a heavy level of resistance. Just look left. What did it do last time? Was at 367, pulled all the way back into 350, bounced, pulled all the way up here. So there is your reference. Okay. Let's jump into Nvidia for this week. Okay, Nvidia 195, very heavy. Okay, so got to watch the overall market. Okay, we got some gaps down here, and if we look at this, Nvidia had an awesome rebound, but we know that Nvidia does respect its resistance levels. So just because Nvidia is hyped and bullish right now, is your entry into resistance at 195? No. Right? Your entry would be back down here into the 187. Let this first gap fill like this. See if it holds that. And a lot of questions are, Brian, what do you do at those levels? Like, what are you talking about? Right? We talk about it simplistically. If you're in support, right? If you're in previous resistance, back down into support, that is where you ideally want to look for potentially a bounce if we're bullish, which we are. Okay. If you're in resistance up here, you do not want to enter calls into resistance. So if you so please, you can short it with puts back down with a stop loss back above this resistance level highs, back above 193 ideally. Okay. So that is the result there on Nvidia. AMD really quick. AMD kind of chopping around here, but as long as AMD is below this 225 and ultimately below 220, it's still technically weak in my opinion. Some may say this is a double bottom, but still I think this is just a weak bounce off of here until it clears back above that level. If it does something like this, then cool, we can start looking at it like Nvidia, right? But got to respect this level here because people thought it was this one. Nope, roll back over. People think it's this one, maybe roll back over, right? So AMD, in my opinion, needs to get back over 225 to really be considered, a bullish play where we can take it back into here, okay, like that. That's what I would like to see, okay? Let's go into Palantir. Palantir getting some decent rejections off of that area. It's pretty aggressive, and it's back underneath this 189 level, so that will be interesting. Does Palantir hold up this zone right here of previous resistance now turn support, right? And that's a perfect example of what you talk about when you're chasing new highs like this. Palantir goes, looks extremely strong, bam, looks extremely strong, bam, right? So when it's running, not necessarily the best entry for at least trading purposes, but it's back in support. We'll see what it does in this 187 level, and if it bounces and rebounds and we get that final push into the end of the year potentially, right? If not, then we're coming back down into this 180, back down into that zone, back into this chop channel in my opinion, okay? And then Palantir will just be in here for a while, okay? Back here, chop, chop, back and forth until it rotates out of the range, rotates back into the range, so on and so forth. Okay. AVGO. You asked about that. Tenveer, AVGO. We'll see what it does at this 350. I want to see, you see I bounced here. I want to see what it does at this 350 level. I think AVGO is a winner for 2026. However, I need to see what it does here. Does it get a nice squeeze back into 370? If it holds above 350, right? 350. If you want to get a pullback, if the market does pull back, you got 340 and some change, right? That would be most ideal, 340. Tenveer, right? So 340 into that pullback there would be most ideal. Let's see if it can set a higher low and then go higher from there, okay? So that's what I would look for on AVGO, because this is just, a nice people exiting their shorts, maybe buying some up, kind of like Meta did. Then it chops around in here, and we got to decide, is it really ready to go, or does it rotate back down to the side? We do have some gaps down below. So it's a little bit tricky right here, but it's back above this 340 area. Microsoft, um, this week, Microsoft, in my opinion, kind of just formed this consolidation. In my opinion, looks more like a bearish consolidation with this double top here, sitting here like that. If I turn on my moving averages, barely holding above the daily 20, so that's bullish, holding above the daily 200, so that's technically bullish right there. But we need to see it break back above some of these levels, maybe 491, right? 491. Meta, we'll just see what 2026 brings for Meta, right? Because Meta, does it get a strong push or does it give us one more drop like that, right? So again, any V bottom bounce on there, I'm not a big fan of those. Just coming off the lows because you don't know if it's really buyers or it's everyone exiting their position. So I would rather see some type of double bottom like this, double bottom there, and then rotate back up. I'd rather it test this level again just to truly see if 600 is a real level. If it can set 600 again and then we can rotate higher, then cool. That's what I would rather see. All right. What else did you have? You had Tesla. Okay. Many people, again, chasing into that 500, right? If you bought down here on Tesla at 440, that is the support, 440, 450, right? Use your moving averages as an indication. The further it gets away from that daily 20, the further it gets away from that daily 50, it's going to try to come back and retest it, right? So now you got the daily 20 sitting right at roughly 462, okay? So if it pulls back into 462 or 450, I would look for that 10 veer if you're looking for Tesla as how it would react in this zone ideally, okay? Like that. Pull back into that zone, bounce in that zone, and then maybe we get that 500 push like that, okay? So Tesla, as long as it's above those moving averages right there, it is extremely bullish. Bounce, go higher. If it fails back underneath them, then that's where a little bit more concern comes in, and then we can come back down into here, something like that, okay? All right, Robinhood. I'd love Robinhood to retest 100 if possible. It is forming a lower high set right now, but this is more a bullish consolidation in my opinion, right? Bullish here, just consolidating here, but I'd love for potentially a double bottom down here like that, or create a new low into the 90s and we can get a nice push if possible, okay? It would look something like that. That is the most ideal scenario. Looks very similar to Lily. Lily looked like that up here. You can see Lily. Lily looked very similar to how Robinhood's looking. See how it chopped in here, chopped in here, chopped in here, chopped in here. One final new low push, and then we just rip. See that right there? So that is Lily, and then we go to Robinhood. Does that not look like a bullish consolidation? Maybe one more push lower if possible, and then rip, right? So keep a lookout for that. If we can get Robinhood back lower into 100, that'd be great. But anywhere above 100 to 110, I like Robinhood personally. I think it's a $200 stock. It does have some gap fills up here. So I think Robinhood's just bullish consolidation and gonna try to do that for 2026, okay? So Robinhood, top stock pick. Let's go into Oracle. Oracle is a big question. It could be massive, or it could be one of those SMCIs that pulls a lot lower, okay? So Oracle, we want to pay attention to the $200 level, okay? If it starts getting above 200, then we can get a push into this gap fill here up into 220, okay? But what I would love to see is fill this gap first, pull back into here, and see if we can get some consolidation above 180. I would love for that to happen and start curling like that, okay? You never can time the bottom, but ultimately you'd like to have the best entry for at least options personally. But for shares, if you believe in Oracle, they still have a lot of debt, but they're still very heavy in the AI race, data centers, so on and so forth. Then you're more than welcome to dollar cost average into these shares as a safety measure, Or if you'd like to do leaps and you have a bigger account, you can choose options a year plus out. Okay. So if you'd like to know more about that, go to the channel and type in leaps. And I do have a video on leap options, but I'm not going to give a specific one here until we see how the week and the year finishes off. Okay. SoFi, big play here. I think this is more bullish consolidation above $25. It's just bullish consolidation. Now, what I would love to see, and I've told my group this, is if we can get some flash crash into 2026 at some point, we can get 18 again or 20 again, something like that. Brian, dang, like you wanted to pull all the way back to there? Why? Because it would retest this high here of 18, and it would give us a nice runway back to 30 plus, 40 plus, $50 plus. But if you already got shares in SoFi, I think it's a great fintech company. Their product suite, who they're servicing, they're now into crypto as well. I think this is just going to be a rip here into $50 plus in 2026, 2027, into 2030. So dollar cost average into SoFi, not financial advice, but yeah, as long as it's above this $25, you can see that previous high holding as bullish consolidation support. Okay, bullish consolidation support for SoFi. Okay. Lyft and Uber. Okay. Lyft, we've already been talking about, and I've been saying this, and you may have heard it from other different places, but $18, $19 on Lyft, in my opinion, is a great area for adding leaps. Okay. Adding leap options. I think this is bullish consolidation right here above 18. And if you need a visual, it is looking to try to do something like this. Okay. So if you want to dollar cost average into leap options, or if you're more of a share buyer, I think Lyft is a great value at $19 with a target of $30 plus. There is a gap fill right here up into 30. Okay. I don't want to zoom all the way out and show, but if it'll show right here, I'll give you a visual. Okay. There is a gap. There it is. Right, all the way up into 30, 32 plus, then off to the races. So Lyft, great opportunity there for those that are looking for something to buy that could potentially, double up, so on and so forth. Okay, with minimal amount of risk, in my opinion, because Lyft is now profitable. All right, Uber. Okay, I've been watching this chart for a while, and I love this move down to the downside, back into support with gaps above. This is one of those setups that, you know what, Brian, do you ever trade calls? Like, golly, you always trading puts. Is because it always V bottoms before I can get an entry, right? Just right at the low, just right off of it. I'm like, I can't confidently enter when it V bottom off the lows like that. This is how it looks. You see that? That's where people get trapped. It goes here, V bottoms off the lows, and it's so quick. Before you wake up and get your entry, it's already back in resistance. So I can't enter calls right here because it's in resistance, and there it goes, right back down, right back down, right back down. Okay. Now it's in a oversold territory, and it's back at my level of support that I like a little bit better. Okay. Back down here into 80, high 70s, so on and so forth. So I love these oversold levels, this double bottom on this daily RSI. The MACD starting to curl a little bit to the upside like that. Okay, that is what I like. If you ever wanted to know, like, when can we do a swing call option and what's a good thing to buy, is something like this, right? Where it's pulled back from the highs 25%. Okay, so 25% discount for Uber. That means shares. That means you can start entering. We'll talk about that inside of our Discord. If you're not yet in, I will give a specific entry. I love this. Options are not that pricey, so anyone can participate. These are the types of trades that I like because it gets anyone and everyone with all account sizes involved. So I love this rotating back to 100 in 2026. So look out for Uber. We'll watch this down into $80. If it starts moving out of here and curling, I like it. I like the entry now personally. For big swing or leap options, maybe moving into their next earnings report. All right. So Uber is a good pick for 2026. Okay. Trying to see anything else. Gold and silver. I know everyone's been talking about that. That's going to be interesting. Right. That is going to be interesting. And I'll round this out here. If there's any final questions from anybody, let me know. If there's any final questions for anybody, let me know. And I think I am frozen. I've been frozen from this whole time. That's crazy. That is crazy. But if you can hear me, cool. There we go. We're back. This is wild. All right. So I'll end off here. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Hopefully everyone got an idea of what this week will bring. I promise this is not like this inside of Leverage University, inside of our Discord and live trading. As you know, I take pride in the information I deliver and also the lives that I produce. So we'll be back in the office this upcoming week. I actually am about to jump on a flight tonight. So want to get this out for you guys, and I will see you back in the office. I'll check the chat one last time for anyone who has any final questions. PayPal. Okay, cool. PayPal, if Tesla falls below 475, going straight for puts to 450. Yes, brother B. What's going on, man? Hopefully you're doing well. PayPal. I'll cover that really quick. Okay. Ben keeps getting on me about PayPal, and I think PayPal is one of those that, will have to have a catalyst, and it's just waiting, right? It's just waiting for that move. And $60 is that real big move for PayPal that we need to see, okay? $60, in my opinion, is consolidating. So you see here, bounce off of here, it holds at 60, holds it here, holds it here. It's not really moving with volume off of here, but I love this double bottom at 60. I think PayPal, in my opinion, can be shares for safety if you don't feel comfortable with option leaps, or it could be simply an option leap that's maybe out into 2028, okay? 2028, 2027, okay? So that is one of those that I want to keep in mind because I love this just bounce here, consolidation, and then curl. Next thing you know, in my opinion, it may be the next earnings, okay? Maybe the next earnings for PayPal, but PayPal is one of those that has plenty enough free cash flow. They have crypto now included. They also have an immense amount of profit that they're yielding. So go check on PayPal's, type it in your chat GPT or whatever AI platform that you use and just say, how was PayPal's earnings last time? And look how massive their earnings report was. Now, people may question and say, well, dang, PayPal had a massive earnings, but it dropped after earnings tremendously, right? And that, in my opinion, that's just a little scare, in my opinion, right? I think they got some work to do, but I do believe that PayPal will be one of those that it can at least get back to 80 in the next 2 years, okay? So if you look at that in that outlook, I think PayPal is one of those, just based off price action, that could be a big winner, okay? But do with you please, not financial advice, but I've looked at the financials and it doesn't make any sense why PayPal can't pop just a little bit. It may need some room to go back to $200, $300, but the same thing happened when I was calling out Robinhood at $6, $7, $8, okay? So I'm not always right, no one's always right, but when you look at the financials, when you look at who they're partnering with, when you look at the business model, you're like, man, it's an age old, just like how Google was, right? Google was sitting at 150, and then now everyone wants to trade Google. Before, no one wanted to trade Google. They're like, I'm not trading Google, I'm trading NVIDIA. I'm like, okay. So pay attention to the sleepers. There are some gaps back up here to the highs, so we will see what PayPal produces. But I love that it's consolidating down here into its next earnings season. So if PayPal keeps producing these next couple of earnings, I think that's going to be its catalyst. Does that help? That help a little bit? Confirmed it for me? Yeah. Yep. So I like it, Ben, for shares. I like it a lot. I think you've checked on their financials, or maybe you haven't, but just check on ChatGPT, see how much free cash flow they are. But just, you have to be patient on it, obviously, right? And I think you are, right? Especially for shares, or if someone wants to look at a leap option, like put it in a separate account, don't look at it, and just wait, in my opinion. All right. Cool. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate you. I will see you all back in the office this week. I've already repeated that multiple times. If you have any questions for me, post this live. If you're rewatching or anything, make sure you join our newsletter minimally down below. That will get you into our front of house. And you can message our support team, support chat, and say, hey, Brian, I was on your YouTube channel. I got some more questions for you or whatever. Can you cover this on the next video? Or I love the video, or I've got any feedback. or if you want to join Leverage University, or what's the discount code again, whatever you need, just make sure you message there inside of our WAP platform. All right. Talk to y'all soon. Peace, love, and blessings. Thank you for bearing with me. Y'all have a blessed rest of your weekend.